Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Saga Consulting Client Conversations. And today, I would like to welcome Dr. Ralf Mayer of Saga Consulting. Ralf, thank you for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm great. Hope you too.
Yeah, doing great. And I'm looking forward to learning even more about your business and sharing more about your business with our audience. So, Ralf, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we first met around 2018 at a business in Japan event here in Tokyo.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the chances are very big that we met at a Business in Japan event. So greetings to Jason.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. Yeah, I remember because you back then you were a sole proprietor just like myself, and I was really impressed with how you branded your company and positioned your company. So I had to get in touch. I think we met for coffee or lunch or something, and we stayed connected ever since then. Now you are fully incorporated, and finally we had a chance to work together last
Right.
year. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We stayed in touch, and I think it was really a wonderful time also to talk and discuss topics with each other that are particular to the sole proprietorship that we both shared that time. Then, yes, I had a chance to incorporate my company, which I did 3 years ago. Since then, yeah, I was working also to focus on my concept and my service offer. And then last year, you kindly helped me, or we worked together in rephrasing my service offer. And I'm really glad for your help that time. I think what we have now on our website is also thanks to you that it also is very successful.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's good to hear. And I also want to tell everyone to pick up the white paper that we also worked on as
Right.
well, which was a very, very fun project. So thank you again for the opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about your business. So I know, typically you are targeting international organizations entering Japan. Today's theme will be a little bit different. We're going to talk about the other side, but would you care to introduce your business to our audience?
Yes, we'd be happy to, of course. So Santen Consulting is helping foreign companies to do business in Japan, as you just mentioned. We do it a little bit different than what maybe is very well known. We are focusing on being the representative office in Japan, which means that we are working like a part-time sales and marketing business development department for our clients. So that distinguishes us from distributors that you are working with, and that they then sell as they like to do it. So we are selling the products or marketing the products for our clients, and always in close consultation with our clients, what we do as marketing measures, advertisements, and so on. Our clients usually have products in the B2B area. So we are not doing consumer goods or retail. We are focusing on B2B, where the products need more technical descriptions that are going into a development stage at the customers in Japan. And that's what is very time consuming usually. As we both know, I mean, starting the business, getting in contact with customers and in Japan usually takes a longer time than outside of Japan. But in addition, now if you have a product that then needs some technical developments, that needs to be customized, then we talk another 2-3 years on top of that. So overall, our clients typically have commercial sales maybe after 4 years after starting. And if you want to do this with a subsidiary in Japan, this can easily cost you $1 million with a full-time person, full-time country manager. And this is where we are somewhere in between the distributor and a subsidiary, so offering the real marketing and business development dedicated to our clients, but for much lower cost than a subsidiary in Japan.
Yeah, I remember focusing on that when we were working on your website copy and the white paper. And truly, I think that's the added value that you offer is a reasonable, affordable way to enter and explore the Japanese market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as much as I want to talk about that more, I want to offer, my viewers, the people who've watched this series, I want to offer them a slightly different perspective. So we've talked about market entry before. But market entry, I always felt that there were two sides to this. Of course, you have to have the eager company coming into Japan, but you also have to have companies based in Japan that are receptive to basically working with international companies. So if you're okay, Ralf, shall we talk a little bit about that side of the equation?
Yes, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so my first question is, helping international companies enter the Japanese market requires the discovery of willing partners here in Japan, just as I mentioned. Therefore, I see your services beneficial to businesses both abroad and domestically. So what industries in Japan specifically can benefit most from distributing international products?
Right. Yeah, as I introduced my company, we are working in B2B, so I would like to set aside a little bit like food and beverages or consumer goods, which I'm not the specialist in. But I think for the B2B area, there is not much limitations regarding the industry. It depends maybe a little bit on the country where the foreign company comes from, so which industry they are specializing to focus on or to decide about a country. But other than that, I think there is a lot of industries, automotive, medical devices, textiles, and so on, that we are actually working in at the moment that can benefit from that. I think what is important to see in this respect is that, like the Japanese industry, I would say that many industries in the European area have a similar setup regarding the backbones are the small and mid-sized enterprises, the SMEs, which might be different a little bit in the US, in America, whereas maybe more dominantly by bigger companies. But if you look to Germany, where I come from, the backbone of the economy are the small and mid-sized companies. And then they have excellent technology, but not maybe the means to really have a global expansion and the brand like the big ones are like Bosch or Mercedes or something like that. So I think the big benefit for the Japanese companies in many industries is to benefit from these smaller companies, from the excellent products that they have that otherwise might be difficult to get, and that might be maybe even better than products than they can get domestically. And I am not sure how familiar this expression is, but we are talking a lot about these hidden champions. So the small companies, small mid-sized companies that have excellent technologies, but are usually not very well known. The brand is not known, but they would be excellent suppliers to the Japanese industry. But as I said, are smaller, so they cannot afford a big subsidiary in Japan.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying that for Japanese SMEs, they could discover a competitive advantage or a competitive edge by working with international companies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And I think in addition to that, I think there is a big benefit that it is more maybe on an eye level. So it's not like the big foreign company, the big brand, and then the small Japanese company. It is more on an eye level. So the company sizes are maybe more equal on maybe a few hundred employees, a few 100 million revenues or something like that. So you maybe don't feel intimidated by bigger companies or bigger brands. And what you can see also on the other side is that they of course are also eager to expand to Japan, because they know that the Japanese industry and Japanese customers do a great job. So I think it would be a win-win situation for both sides.
Okay, I see, I see. So before I wrap up this question, if we could dig a little bit deeper, I know you mentioned in conversation before that your services can benefit, so many kinds of companies, but are there any particular industries or verticals that you prefer working with, or that you see a lot of success with, for example?
So I come from the chemical industry and a chemical background, the long-term client that we have from Europe is working in the chemical industry, and there we are now close to commercial sales. So I think this is very, very beneficial and very successful. But there are also smaller ones or other industries in the machinery where we have excellent products, pumps in this case from Switzerland. So I think there are many industries where we can really make a difference to the Japanese company, and as you said, giving them the competitive advantage that they may need in Japan.
All right, thank you. So let's explore another question I have for you, and that is, how can Japanese companies discover opportunities to partner with international market entrants? So companies coming in, are there any organizations they should join, or particular websites they should use?
It's a very good question. I was thinking about this a lot. And of course, the first responsibility is always with the companies going into the market. It's our responsibility to market and address the customers in websites, exhibitions, whatever, where they are. But I think there are some additional events and possibilities to get closer to foreign markets that Japanese companies could do. And this is, for example, provided by the Chambers of Commerce in Japan. So the foreign Chambers of Commerce very often do some market exploration tours for their home-based companies, but of course, they can only be successful if they can match and meet with the Japanese companies. So I would not say, of course, that all Japanese companies should become a member, but looking at the websites of the foreign chambers of commerce, maybe also signing up for the newsletters that usually also provided in Japanese is something they could do and start with. And I know that many chambers of commerce are doing very nice projects, very nice events to bring together companies that are not yet in Japan. So an excellent opportunity to know or get to know market entrants, and as I mentioned before, the smaller companies.
Are there any other events? For example, we met at Business in Japan all those years ago. There's also Venture Cafe. In case, let's say, a Japanese company is not comfortable with the chamber or can't afford to get involved, are there any others that you recommend?
I think what you just mentioned, there are many other opportunities also in this area. So there's, the Business in Japan networking events, Venture Cafe that also has now different subsidiaries or different places. So I know they're in Tsukuba, they're in Yokohama, in Nagoya now. So also there, I think it is a wonderful possibility to just get closer without any commitment. I understand for many Japanese companies, they don't want to commit too fast and too early for a project or for trying a business or something like that. So I think these open events are very good to just meet some foreigners, meet foreign companies. There are what we just recently also participated as a guest or a visitor is in particular areas like life science. There's the Life Science Innovation Network Japan, LinkJ, and they also offer events for their members and non-members. I mean, they are open. So if you are working in the life science area, have a look to their webpage. And I think they do and support more than 1,000 events a year, which is a great number of events. And there you can meet companies and get introduced to technologies without a big commitment.
Yeah. So in other words, it sounds like there are plenty of opportunities to meet, companies interested in Japan, people like you who can facilitate that. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunities out there.
There are, yes, but you have to look for them. I think what we on the other side sometimes face is the problem: how should we announce these events? So also Santen Consulting, we also from time to time organizing this kind of business trips for German companies to Japan. And then, yes, we contact our network and we contact like this LinkJ, for example, as a networking base and so on. We talk to associations if they can support us and so on. But eventually, it still depends on a Japanese company to be open for these kind of events and to say, okay, I go there. It is in Japanese, or it's simultaneously translated into Japanese and English, so we keep the language barrier very low. But at the end, the Japanese company needs to have this motivation. And I think that's more a question of the mindset.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. Just a couple more questions. So moving on, what can Japanese companies do to ensure smooth, long-term, and mutually beneficial relationships with international partners? So let's imagine that a Japanese company has, they've taken that step that you recommended. They have gone out and sought an international partnership. They made the connection. Now they have to work with this partner on an ongoing basis. What advice do you have to make sure that happens smoothly?
Yeah. I would always recommend to work with someone who has an understanding of both cultures. And this is, I think, very important because these cultural misunderstandings that naturally come because we are both living and working in different cultural environments, and we may interpret things in a different way. So sending a message and receiving and understanding a message is two things of the same equation. But to match it, you need to have some knowledge about the differences that we have. So I would always recommend to have someone in the middle that can interpret what is said. For example, if you have Japanese companies, very typically decision-making process needs much more time than in Europe. So the European company is getting a little bit nervous when they don't get an answer very quickly, and they maybe start following up, and they might be considered like pressuring the Japanese company for an answer. So this is a very common source of misunderstandings or of difficulties and a little bit of trouble that you can, I would say, easily mitigate if you have someone who can tell the foreign company, look, they need more time for the decision-making process, or telling also the Japanese company, you should maybe not, we cannot accelerate the decision making. That's typically, or this is something that might be very difficult. But what we can do is we can communicate how long we need. So understanding the need of well, the foreign company knows that it takes longer than within their home turf is something that you can easily mitigate with communication. But it needs this understanding of both sides.
Okay, so in summary, it's ideal to have an intermediary who can not only understand both cultures, but use that understanding maybe to set expectations, what one side should expect from the other, which usually helps things go more smoothly.
Exactly this. Yeah. So we several times that we have this in the past, yeah, that we are waiting for an answer from a Japanese customer, and after a week or so, then the foreign company comes and says, "Do we have an answer? Do we need to follow up?" Yeah, because for them it's painfully long, and then we can tell them, "Look, we need a little bit more time, be patient, they will come back to us, they don't forget about us, yeah. So they will come back, and then yes, a few days later usually you get the answer. And this is what I think is important, to have it smooth ongoing for both sides. So understanding each other's cultures and explain it to the other sides.
Okay. So one thing I've learned in kind of my business development and research and hearing from mentors in my life is that a lot of Japanese SMEs, they're going to want to keep everything internal. They may want to do everything themselves. So in that case, if they're not ready or not willing to, hire a person or an intermediary to make things go smoothly, do you have any books or resources that you could recommend that can teach about cross-cultural communications?
Well, what I can always recommend, of course, is to join an intercultural training. So nice. Once you know that you want to work with a foreign company or with someone outside of your home culture, it is always advisable to get this. And I personally had a great opportunity to I have 1 week at INSEAD in France, close to Paris, and listening to Ralf Mayer, who
nice.
has written the book The Culture Map. But what is more important, she's doing in her research team, they're doing these studies about the differences in cultures, and understanding the book, understanding that we have differences, I think is very important. And this might be something that the Japanese companies should do, to try to understand that if something seems bothersome to them from the foreigner, it might be just a cultural difference, but not an ill-meant attack on the Japanese side.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning the culture map. I'm a huge fan of that. To me, it's basically my Bible for working across cultures. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we need to get aware of the differences in order to work with them. I think that's I'm absolutely convinced of. And I know, of course, it's nice to have many cultural aspects in common, and to have to share a basic set of values and so on. That's all good, and it's certainly something we need to appreciate. But we do have differences, and we can't just ignore them, because they will lead to misunderstandings, to troubles, and at the end to projects that are not working out. And it's not about trying to change the culture in one or the other way and one or the other country. It is about, again, appreciating the differences, acknowledging them, and working with the differences so both parties feel comfortable with. And I think this is what is so crucial about intercultural management and what we do, the border we are every day facing, between the cultures abroad and in Japan, it is about appreciating, acknowledging these differences, and then work with them, making it understandable for both sides. That a follow-up after 1 week, just to stick with this example, a follow-up after 1 week is not meant to bother someone. It is just because they are afraid that something got lost in the message or that something was unclear. So the reasoning behind that is not something that is how say is mean. It's more about being cautious, and wanting to serve the Japanese customer. And on the other hand, of course, the foreigners have to understand and accept the decision-making process in Japan, and that it takes more time because more people involved, but they have a great benefit at the end because the implementation usually is very smooth. So this is what I mean is, there are many positive things in these cultures, and we need to understand the differences in order to work with that, and then we can work very wonderful together.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't. I'll conclude my questions there. However, Ralf, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to add? Is there a question you wish I had asked you for this interview session?
I think we covered most aspects of that. I think what you just mentioned in the last one, I think, is the most important part, is understanding the cultures. And here I would again try to emphasize how important it is to have someone in between. So I think that's, if somebody listens to us, I think this is what they should have as a takeaway message. These intercultural and cross-border management needs some experience and some understanding, and I think this is what is important at the end to be successful.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ralf. This conversation evolved into more than I could have hoped. I set out to create. Sure. I set out to create something mainly targeted at my Japanese audience. However, I think this content can benefit anyone who is interested in doing business here in Japan, whatever side of the ocean you're on. So thank you very much. Very important, Ralf. Where should people contact you if they want to connect with you, ask questions about your business, and so on?
Well, best way, of course, is the internet. So the World Wide Web, and it can be found on www.sun-10.com. So I hope rather easy to remember. And from there, we have a contact form. You can write an email at info at our email address. So we are happy to get in contact there. Or for our Japanese audience, companies that may be interested in the products that we offer, we have www.sun-10.co.jp. So the Japanese ending and a Japanese website where you can find all information about our foreign the clients that we have and the products that we represent in Japan.
Okay, and I'll put that in the description, of this video, wherever it may be, starting with YouTube. But thank you again. I know you're a busy man, Ralf, so we'll wrap up. Thank you for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Anthony.